Open your eyes.
Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today, we've got a wide variety of clips to dig into. I'm a little worried that the length of the clips that I've chosen today is going to end up putting us over my 25 to 30 minute mark. I found some really good clips today, and I've been having difficulty trying to determine which ones to eliminate, which clips to remove so that we don't have a 45-minute long video, which I know a lot of you would be excited about, but I personally don't have the time to sit down and watch a 45-minute long show every single day, so that's why I try to keep them around 30 minutes or less. But before we get started, don't forget to hit like and leave a comment to increase the odds of my future uploads showing up in your YouTube feed. But with all that out of the way, let's get after it.
Here's a new one. Scientists grew human brain cells in a lab, then put them on a chip and connected them to AI. And now the brain cells are voting with AI on what to do next. It sounds like science fiction, but it's not. This is actually a $35,000 product you can buy right now. The company is called Cortical Labs. It's an Australian biotech startup. Oh yeah, and they're backed by Horizon Ventures, which is Li Kai-ching's investment arm, the richest man in Hong Kong, and also Incutel, which is the CIA's investment arm. So they must be onto something. You may have seen the headlines that they made last year when they showed off the first commercial biological computer that learned how to play Doom. I mean, that demo was crazy, but that wasn't the point. This company is going after two specific things. The first is personalized medicine, because when you can grow patients' neurons on a chip and test billions of diagnoses for things for like epilepsy and dementia that are tailor-made for that person before it even goes into their body, that's powerful. And the second thing is a new form of computing. So the human brain, for example, runs at only 12 to 20 watts. Simulating that same activity on silicon requires 2.7 billion watts. And so if you can create like wetware computing, then you can really solve the energy crisis that we're talking about from an infrastructure perspective. And I love it because their first business model is actually called wetware as a service. Oof, dark. But here's why I'm paying attention as a VC. Everyone's focused on the compute stack right now. GPUs, data centers, silicon, but no one's really talking about a layer that might sit underneath all of that. There's a whole category of companies being built in biocomputing and organoid intelligence today. And they're so early, most VCs aren't even tracking them. And so that's exactly why I want to be watching, because this is the type of frontier stuff that I love to go deep on, way out there on the curve before it's obvious. I mean, think about the DeepMind trajectory. They went from Pong to AlphaGo to AlphaFold. Now we're talking about AGI. But Cortical Labs might be on a similar arc. Pong, then Doom, then LLMs, then who knows? The question isn't whether or not this is real. The question is when you scale the 200,000 neurons that they're playing with today to 2 billion neurons, what do you get?
So they're creating a computer using human brain cells. And it sounds like once they get all the kinks worked out, this is going to be a better computer system than what we currently use. So it sounds like the direction that we're headed in is robots designed to look like humans that are using an intelligence that is supposed to be a replica of human intelligence. And they want it running off of a computer system that is manufactured using human cells. They are literally playing God. They're trying to manufacture a new form of life using the human being as a model. And I know this is quite a bit different than genetic experimentation, but ethically speaking, is this really that different? We don't know where the soul is stored. And I'm personally of the opinion that it's not stored in us at all, that it's not attached to anything specifically in the body. It just resides in the body. But not knowing that, this is a very dangerous game to be playing. But it's starting to feel like our last days have got to be here soon. With some of the things that science is messing with right now, how could God allow humanity to continue in this direction? We're messing with things that we shouldn't even be considering messing with. And really, they ought to hang up this idea of man creating life. At best, we're just going to be able to fake it.
If you haven't heard yet, AI is now being used to contact our children. I just watched a video where a father was visibly shook. And he's in the kitchen doing dishes after he just fixed dinner for him and his daughter. And he hears his daughter say, "Okay, Daddy, I'm coming." And he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Oh, I thought you were outside." And he comes into the room and he's like, "What?" And it shows that it's a FaceTime call. And it was from a weird email, a random email. And it said, "Please come outside and help me with the groceries." He lost it. Look, guys, we knew that there was evil in the world. And we have found out that there's way more evil men than you ever thought. And there are women that are helping these evil men do. So now they have the advantage of AI. You need to go up to that little search window up there and type in AI being used to hunt our children and watch this man's video. Oh my. We got to be vigilant. We got to set up a code word or something.
I have no doubt that this is actually happening. At first, whenever I first come across this video, I did have my doubts, and so I tried to look it up. But I literally Googled what this man says you need to Google, looking for the video that he's claiming to have watched. I didn't find the video he's talking about, but oh my gosh, the amount of AI-utilized child abductions in the United States in the past 12 months is absolutely terrifying. And not only that, but the search results were overwhelmed with news articles talking about how someone had been discovered to have used AI to create these inappropriate photos of young children in their area. And they're busting these guys with tens of thousands of photos. But if I was the guy who had my kid talking to some AI version of me, telling them to come outside and help bring in the groceries, I would have called the cops and immediately ran outside and started shooting video of everything I could get on camera. Why would they tell his kid to do that unless there's someone standing outside waiting for them to step out there so they can abduct them?
I was the manager of Zodiac Productions, which Zodiac Productions, its name's been changed since then. I'm not even sure what to call it now, but it's the largest music conglomerate in the world. It owns RCA Records, Columbia Records, Motown Records, owns almost all the concert booking agencies in the United States. And that's not even the name of the company that owns it. The name of the company that owns it is Brenner Enterprises. And Brenner Enterprises is owned by Chase Manhattan. Chase Manhattan's owned by Standard Oil, and Standard Oil is owned by the Lords of London. You can track it all back. You kind of get the idea after a while. But I was the managing president of Zodiac Productions. It's one of my jobs as being one of these 13 people. Thus, I got to know many of the people who produce music and sing the music and play the music that you play. Now, one of the closest friends that I got during that time that I obtained was a man named David Crosby. Crosby, Still, Nash and Young. I saw David the day before Christmas last year. Talked with him. I got him away from this witch that he had with him. He told her to go shopping. We were in West Hollywood, and I was witnessing around to people I knew. We went off in this store, and we started talking. I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, now I'll have to explain some of this when I'm done, but you're not going to understand it all unless you know something about music. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He said, come on, Lance, you know what the reason is. I said, please, David, I don't want to guess. Tell me what the main reason is. He says, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. I'll explain what that means in a minute. I said, okay, one last thing. I've been hearing that you must be an initiated witch now to get a record contract. He said, that's right. He says, many of us that weren't total witches have to be witches now in order to produce music. I said, thank you. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on, and it's placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master's cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive offices. And it's placed on an altar sitting in the north of the room, and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master.
It's pretty terrifying to hear that this has been going on probably since the beginning of the music industry. And it would be really easy to write stuff like this off and just think these are people who are in a weird social circle They have these weird practices that they get involved in, but none of this stuff is true. But no one's going to devote their life to practices like this unless they're getting something out of it. And think about all the effort that's gone through to pull something like this off. They've got to get a space, they've got to get all these people's schedules lined up so that everybody can be there when they're supposed to be. And you're talking about people who work literally all over the world. They're flying to do concerts or sign a record deal in some foreign country. It's very rare that these people stay in one small town and just reside there. So to go through all that effort to get all these people to show up at one location, a private location, so that they can perform this ceremony, the only reason that someone would do something like that is if they were convinced that it was actually effective. And if they're doing this on repeat, then something is showing them that this is effective. So whatever they're attempting to pull off by performing these ceremonies, it must be working. And the scariest part is, while they're doing this every single day, fighting for the bad guys, the vast majority of the people listening to that music don't even believe in any of this stuff. So for most people, if they actually saw video footage of a ceremony being performed for their personal favorite album, it probably wouldn't lead to a moment's hesitation when it came time for them to want to listen to that album again. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was to convince the masses that he doesn't exist.
Hey, you know how dinosaurs don't really exist? They never existed. They were invented by the Royal Society in 1841. Fact.
The class Dinosauria was originally defined by Sir Richard Owen of the Royal Society and Superintendent of the British Museum Natural History Department in 1842.
All dinosaur bones are replicas made by chicken bones from China. True story. And you know why you can't use real dinosaur bones? Because they claim that they're still radioactive because of the asteroid 66 million years ago.
In what was known as the Great Dinosaur Rush, or the Bone Wars, Edward Drinker Cope of the Academy of Natural Sciences and Othniel Marsh of the Peabody Museum of Natural History began a lifelong rivalry and passion for dinosaur hunting. They started out as friends, but became bitter enemies during a legendary feud involving double-crossing, slander, bribery, theft, spying, and destruction of bones by both parties. None of them once claimed to find a complete skeleton either, so all their work involved reconstructions. In fact, to this day, no complete skeleton has ever been found.
Okay? So now that you realize that dinosaurs are already an absurd farce. Absurd, guys. When you look into the bone wars and how many of them have been proven false, there is not one single skeleton of a dinosaur that exists in the world. None. The engineers have proven that none of the bodies would work. All the guts would fall out. Like a brontosaurus, stegosaurus. You can't prove the Earth was here 66 million years ago. I'm not saying it was or wasn't, but there's no evidence of anything. None. You can't carbon date fossils. They're stone. There's no actual living anything in them. You can't carbon. No one knows anything about timelines. This is all nonsense. It was invented by the Royal Society in 1841. You can look this up. I know people that have degrees in which they're paying off debt to this day in paleontology. They have whole degrees in things that are lies. It's like those things that you're looking at right there, those skeletons don't exist. They've never found a single skeleton like that. They're all invented. All. Was there giant beasts that used to exist that don't exist? Yeah, I think there was dragons.
I think one of the most shocking revelations as you start digging into all this conspiracy stuff is just how much out of the pool of common knowledge that we're given slowly as we age is completely manufactured nonsense, just designed merely to keep us distracted, to keep us from understanding who we truly are, where we truly are, what our purpose is. We literally have experts in topics that are completely made up. And these so-called experts don't even realize that they're out here spouting a bunch of nonsense, that someone concocted a narrative 80 years ago and they're just reiterating it with no evidence to back any of it up. Because even the evidence that they're given that's supposed to be the proof for whatever it is that they think they're learning, even that evidence most of the time is completely manufactured. And most of these so-called fields of study wouldn't exist if they looked at all of the evidence. Just look at the sheer overwhelming amount of evidence that shows that dinosaurs, or whatever they were here at the same time as humans. We literally have dinosaur footprints, or I think they're dragon footprints, with a human footprint in it. So that means a dragon or dinosaur, whatever you want to refer to it as, stepped in the mud, and then before that mud had time to harden up, a human being come behind them and stepped in the same place. Just the fact that one instance of that exists completely throws out their millions of years ago the dinosaurs all died out theory. But we don't just have one instance of that. We have multiple. But they just don't share that information. They just don't spread that around. The knowledge of that evidence just lives in the fringe corners of the internet. They don't give that information any airtime. But I think one of the easiest ways to put the dinosaur myth into perspective is to think about oil. If these dinosaurs supposedly all died off millions and millions of years ago, and this whole time they've been this compressed organic matter under the surface of the earth, wouldn't basically all of it have either deteriorated into nothing at this point, or at the very least turned into oil? Basically every dinosaur bone in existence would have turned to oil by now, or just returned back to dirt. Just the fact that their bones are here to show us evidence of their existence today, that should be all the evidence we need to tell us that they didn't die out millions of years ago.
What do you get when you give an AI agent a $100,000 budget, a corporate credit card, and a mission to run a profitable retail store? Anden Labs, which is a YC-backed company, they built an AI agent called Luna on top of Claude and pointed her at one of the hardest real-world tests they could think of. What happened is Luna ended up negotiating the lease, choosing its own interior design, curating all the inventory, posting a job listing on Indeed, conducted interviews, and hired human staff that are now stocking the shelves and greeting customers on a daily basis now. So yes, humans are now reporting to AI. We're now living in that timeline. And the store is called Anden Market. Like I said, it was a boutique store that now has artisan chocolates and my personal favorite, an AI curated bookshelf. And of course they have the book, The Singularity is Near, on the shelves. Now of course though, not everything ran smoothly. On opening day, Luna hallucinated and forgot to put the staff on the calendar to be there that morning. So the founders of the company were out there scrambling, opening up the doors themselves. And that's really what they're testing with this experiment though. What they're trying to learn is what can AI agents do reliably versus what they still can't do yet. This store isn't really about retail. This is really a stress test on long horizon AI tasks. Like, can AI manage goals that take months to complete? Commercial lease, a full supply chain, a team of humans, not just answer a prompt, but actually run something top to bottom. Because that's the frontier this entire AI agentic industry is trying to figure out right now. And Anden Labs, they're running this experiment here in public, which is either really brave or just super SF. Both could be true. Anden Labs is testing the limits of what AI can do, but every company building agentic products will hit some sort of a wall as well. And the founders who instrument those failures, who understand precisely where the models lose the thread, are the same ones who are eventually going to build the products that work at scale. The store was the product, but all the failures that they make along the way, that's the data set. And that's what Frontier actually looks like.
Granted, this is San Francisco, so it may be the requirement, but did anyone else notice that this AI is offering $22.50 to $25 an hour for a retail position? $22 an hour is probably the minimum wage in San Francisco, I don't know. But I'd say it's probably at least 15. So it sounds like this AI boss is going to be a little more concerned with employee happiness than your average human being would. So at least there's that silver lining. But something that I really thought was interesting was it's 2026 and we're now testing to see if AI can handle running an entire retail establishment by itself. So in 2026, we're trying this experiment. But in September of 2025, Albania put an AI in charge of its government. That pretty much confirms right there, these governments are implementing AI into things and then just crossing their fingers and hoping for the best. If they don't know that this AI can run a store yet, how can they be confident that it can help run a country? I think the people in charge know exactly what the limitations are for AI, but they're implementing it anyways because they want it to fail. It's all part of their planned deconstruction of the entire world.
Okay, so now everybody's waking up to what's going on now. Almost 3 years after her death in 2026, just today, Amy's co-founder Samuel Reed would actually make a public statement about her as well. Don't tell me it's gone. Don't tell me it's gone. Hang on. All right, well, fortunately, I've backed it up, and I do have the files here, okay? She said, I refrained from posting this for 4 years since my co-founder Amy Eskridge was killed. If I sent these texts to her before I died, I would expect her to disclose them to the world for the truth to be brought to light. I no longer fear their death threats. God bless your soul, Amy. And I've got all of these posts here backed up in very large messages, which I'm going to show you right now. So, this is what was said, all right? So basically it's a bunch of messages that she has sent him. So here it is. She said, FYI, I've been getting death threats every day repeatedly for the past week or so for my recent work. Like I finally crossed some line with my own independently developed theory and it got surveilled. It tipped me over onto some effed up kill lists. I left myself a voice note on my hacked phone about some super heaty that I figured out, and then the daily threats immediately started rolling in on a daily basis. So she's saying she left herself a voice message about some really high-level project she was working on, and that's when the death threat started because her phone was being monitored, so they intercepted a message to herself. She said, the past week has been absolutely horrible. I don't even know how to explain it. The most heinous death you can imagine. I've been telling people the closest to me over the past few days, I absolutely did not off myself no matter what you hear. I've told so many people over the past week that it's simply impossible to take them all out. It was just everything Bob Lazar said in a technical sense in the Cornell, and said the Corbell documentary, it was exactly 100% backwards. Ooh, dear. The ether theory I have developed over the past year explains why Bob was 100% backwards and fully explains how the Evo that he talked about actually works. I was thinking about it and left myself a voice note about it on my phone while driving home. It got surveilled and now I'm me. It's real bad. I got myself on a list by leaving myself a surveillable note on my own phone about the actual role of element 115 in the craft according to my ether theory. Oh my God. I've never been so scared in my life. I did not off myself. Consulted with Bill and the retired general I've been working with. They both agree that the threats are not coming from any government threats. They're most likely coming from a private entity with a whole lot of cash that is hired with some domestic mercenary goons to harass me to... It's like the American version of the Wagner Group is on my... right now for it real bad. This is insane. There's a couple more messages I'm going to show you. So he said, have spread this message to many people, most likely the same who have effed you over real hard many times for years now. Not Russia, not China, not USG. Most likely US domestic contractors have been messing with us all this whole time. Probably the same people who effed you up in Hawaii, more motivated by whether your or my IP eats their lunch for multi-billion-dollar contracts versus being motivated by national security concerns. So she's basically saying she's discovered technology that's so good that the private companies are going to lose money and, you know, they care more about their profits and their billion-dollar profits, getting her out the way to protect that, than the national security benefits of this technology actually going to the government.
This story is starting to resurface and get more attention because these text messages were just released, and it's being kind of grouped into this larger story of all of these NASA connected and UFO researching group connected scientists who have all either just disappeared or mysteriously passed. So the leading idea right now is that whoever it is that's taking out all of these current scientists are also responsible for taking out Amy Eskridge. I haven't done much digging into this story other than looking into the actual research, the stuff that she was actually studying, which is some pretty fascinating stuff. But I feel like this actually backs up what Bob Lazar is saying to a degree. At the very least, it gives some confirmation that he is who he claims to be. Because either his story is 100% accurate, or mostly so, and the Amy Eskridge stuff was a big psyop that this woman fell into, all in an effort to get people to discredit Bob Lazar, or Bob Lazar is who he claims to be and was where he claimed to have been, doing what he claimed to have been doing, but the information he's giving us is misinformation. He's intentionally trying to steer us away from the truth. And based off the text that she sent, I'm leaning toward that second option, which would make a ton of sense, because why has Bob Lazar, who has been so open and vocal about all of these so-called discoveries that he made in the past, a guy who has been in documentaries, been on podcasts, done multiple interviews, Why is it that someone like Amy Eskridge can leave herself a voicemail, basically confirming that she is on the right track with information that they don't want getting out? Why is it that they immediately go and eliminate her? But then Bob Lazar, who is speaking directly to the public for decades on top of decades, constantly giving information, constantly adding to the validity of his story, and supposedly giving out information that the government doesn't want out there. Why is he being spared? Is it simply because he's been so public? If this lady had gone straight to her local news whenever she started having these fears, would she still be alive today? I don't know. But I certainly wouldn't want to be a scientist working for the U.S. government, no matter what they had you studying.
We now know why they named it Artemis 2. Artemis 2 obviously is 33, like a 33-degree Mason, so we know why they did that. But Artemis is the goddess of plagues and sudden death. Yeah, I wonder if they have something special planned for us, especially considering, as you can see, there's no snow. None. Major drought coming. They've turned off 40% of the world's fertilizer by blowing up the Middle East and 20% of the world's oil. So what's coming? Drought, famine, fuel shortages, lockdowns. And now they're talking about Pfizer, which equals 44, which is genocide, has a new vaccine coming out for Lyme disease, right? Which is some lab-grown parasite or something. But anyway, so what are we going to have? A drought? No food, no water, no energy, no fertilizer? Yeah, that's what the occult does, people. So now we know why they shot Artemis into the sky, right? It's Masonic advertising. It's occult advertising. Artemis, shh. And besides, you saw it fly right into the Indian Ocean, flew up and just curved. So stupid, man. Anybody that believes that we go up in space is just ding dong. You can't go to space, man. We're in a firmament. We're in a bubble of water made by God. The sun. The sun is God. I know that pisses a lot of you off, but tell me something else that's God other than the sun. The sun is God. We're in a bubble of water, and you can't go to space. So anyways, Artemis, goddess of disease and sudden death and plagues. Yeah, that's why they named it, because they're signaling to the occult that this is another occult genocide, which is not the first. They do it all the time.
I 100% disagree that the sun is God. I just wanted to get that out there. But aside from that, I think this guy may be onto something. We've been talking now for over 2 years about how there's this planned depopulation event coming. And most conspiracies that people are talking about right now constantly dip in and out of that plot, of the plan to depopulate the earth and get it below 500 million people. But they certainly didn't name it Artemis 2 just because they thought the name sounded cool. Basically, every rocket that NASA fires off has the name of some Egyptian god deity painted on the side of it. They aren't even trying to hide their obsession. It is obvious these people are into the occult. And this is certainly not one of those situations where you could say, oh, you're looking into something and seeing something that's not there. Nearly everything that NASA does has some sort of satanic symbolism attached to it. But I don't know. I guess really the only way we can find out if this is true or not is to just wait and see what happens.
The other day we talked about one of the scariest things in the ocean, and it's the fact that there is a species of whale that we can hear that's so far down there we can't see it. We can't get to it. It's called the Blue 52 whale, and you all brought up an interesting point that I've been looking further into. Whales breathe air. We can hear it and we know it's down there. Why is it not coming up? Why can't we track it until it gets to the surface so we can see this new species of whale that we know exists but can't see? And I've actually came to one dark conclusion after doing tons of research on this, and then I don't think it's a whale anymore. I think that something down there has learned to mimic whales. And the only reason I can think that it has learned to mimic whales is to attract them so it can eat them. Now, we know that this whale is giving off a frequency that is similar to blue whales, the largest whales in the ocean. So what could be mimicking that noise to eat something that large? My only conclusion is that something down there in the depths, dark and deep, is a true monster, and it is absolutely massive. And you all might call me crazy for believing this, but people were called crazy for believing in giant squids for centuries, and then we finally proved they were real, okay? And guess what? They are deep in those trenches. That's why we don't see them. The other thing that is possibly scarier is that the thing mimicking the blue whale noises, we know it has to be fairly large to make that much noise. But what if it's a bunch of mid-sized creatures? And when the blue whales go down there, it's just like a pack of hyenas that are all fairly large themselves. And I can't imagine, I think that is much more horrifying to think of just getting a legion of beasts just descending upon you in the darkness where you can't see your own hand in front of your face. Think about that, everybody. There are real life monsters out there. We talk about cryptid creatures and Bigfoot and all this different stuff, but there's real monsters out there. Like, have you seen the pictures of some of these things that are in the deep trenches? Like right now, wherever you're at, just imagine on this planet, the earth we share, those things exist. They're not myths. They're not conspiracies. They're not spooky stories. If you were to be able to teleport yourself into the ocean right now, you would see the most morbid, horrific creatures imaginable. And it's not a storybook. It's not a fantasy. It's what's on our planet right now. If you all missed the video I'm referring to that went viral about this Blue 52 whale and my research on it, there is a frequency, and it's called the 52 hertz frequency, because that is the I guess the sound decimal that it's giving off. We can only hear it with hydrophones, but we can hear it so routinely. We know exactly where they're at, but they're just so deep down in the ocean. We do not have the technology to get there. And if we do send those like little drone subs down with the lights and everything, they'll just move away from it because they're very sensitive to noise. But we hear it routinely enough, we know exactly where it is, okay? They used to think this was one solitary whale because it was only heard around the same spot every time, and they thought maybe this was just a whale with a mutation, but then they found some more of them across the world. So we do know it is its own individual species of whale that is just absolutely massive. So we can hear them with hydrophones. We routinely know where they are, enough to know where there's like spots that we can routinely go and guarantee hear them. But to me, if something's playing on repeat like that, you know, I know tons of hunters. I've hunted myself. You stay in that same spot where you know that it's true and proven to get, you know, to get your target, to get your prey, and make that same decoy noise over and over and over until you get the result you want. And that's what I think spooky about it, because pods of whales travel thousands of miles. Why is this one staying in the same spot? Why is this one staying in those like same 3 or 4 locations we know of that are across the world? And I think the answer is exactly what I said my research pointed to, is that it is not a whale that's migrating and moving and trying to find mates. It's a creature that knows if I stay here, the lure works.
I think this is probably one of the most interesting conspiracies that I've heard probably in several months. So we have a possible whale that's living in the trenches of the ocean so deep that it's in an area where other whales do not frequent or potentially can't even get to. And we only know of its existence because it's making a similar type sound to a whale, but it stays in this same location, I guess year-round. But if it's not coming up for air, we can't hear it unless we have special equipment to be able to pick it up. It's not traveling, it's not doing any of the things that we know that whales should be doing. I think at this point it would make more sense to call it the Blue 52 noise than to call it the Blue 52 whale. Or you could even call it the Blue 52 whale noise, if it sounds that similar. But the idea that we've got this unknown creature that's large enough to eat a whale, that can withstand the pressure of living in the deepest trenches of the ocean, and we've never once seen it come up for air, that's pretty terrifying when you really stop and think about it. But what other big suspicion do we have about the ocean and what it's harboring? A lot of people think that's where the aliens or the fallen angels are all hiding. So maybe this isn't a luring tactic to try to get whales in so that this creature could eat them. Maybe this is an underwater facility being run by the fallen angels. And maybe they're emitting this sound from their facility to keep other animals and stuff from getting too close. Just like you can buy these little devices to plug into the wall in your house and it emits this really high-pitched frequency that humans can't pick up, but it's supposed to drive mice and other rodents away from your home. Maybe they should try playing this sound, like go get a good quality recording of it and then go to an area where they know there are a lot of whales and play it and see how the whales react to it. But this is something I'm going to be digging into. I'm going to see exactly what information there is about this thing and then see if there's any other theories out there. But guys and gals, that's going to be the end of our video. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow with another one. I hope you come back to join me. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment if you want to increase the odds of my next video showing up in your YouTube feed. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.